Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, March 18th, 2021. And here are our top stories. Making a dent in the universe in your second act and bouncing back from COVID-19 career disappointments. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Carrie Hannon. She's an author and columnist for MarketWatch, New York Times, and PBS Next Avenue. Carrie, great to see you as always. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, terrific. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, well, look, we enjoy talking to you, and your writing is prolific when it comes to just writing about second careers, keeping your career going, all those kind of great things. So I guess the first thing, you wrote a piece recently about that second act and making a dent in the universe, to quote Stephen Paul Jobs, of the former founder of Apple. What can you tell us here? How are people kind of viewing retirement, and how do they approach their second act?
Well, I think that, what is most important, the trend that we're seeing is so many individuals are saying, you know what, I'm going to just pause and take a look at what do I want to do in this next phase of my life. And one of the best ways to do that is to jump back into school in some way, go back to school to kind of reignite, get your mind going again, start thinking about possibilities. And so I did a piece for MarketWatch where I really did a deep dive into all the educational offerings that are available for adult learners. And it's, due to the pandemic, there's more than ever, but there's as we move out of the pandemic, there'll be a lot of in-person opportunities. And Jeff, there's just, when real high-end things where you go back to campus and put on the knapsack at Harvard or Stanford or the University of Texas, to ones, or Notre Dame, which is one I love as well, or you can do it right at home on your computer and just take a class. So I talk about a smorgasbord of opportunities to really, get those brain cells moving and thinking about possibilities.
Yeah, I was reading the piece, and I think what kind of struck me, and look, I'm going to be 50 in 2 years, and I'm not that far off from the demographic that you're talking about. But what I read is that there were some people who, they retired, maybe they retired a little early, whatever. They were a yoga instructor, they were doing things that maybe for them were not as fulfilling. And so what they decided to do is go back to school and find another career. And Carrie, we're living longer, knock on wood, all of us, or many of us. You can have 2 or 3 careers here.
Yeah, it's a portfolio of careers. You really can just think of it as, you're always embarking on a new path, and that's a great way to embrace life anyway. But truly, what you just said, Jeff, you at 50, you can have, if you want to just do one thing for another 20 years, you certainly could. Or what I have found, that a lot of people who launch a second act do something for a couple of years, and then they may shift to doing something different, or they might do a few things at the same time. But it's all about building your own quilt of a career.
Yeah, and what I also picked up on is being a lifelong learner. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the second segment when we talk about some of these COVID-19 career setbacks that people have had. But really figuring out what your passions are, and whether it is cooking, whether it is yoga, that's fine. But really putting if you go into yoga, maybe it's learning more about exercise physiology and how yoga actually impacts the body, and becoming, not only physically fit, but also being certified in particular areas. So it's about finding that passion, being a lifelong learner. And Carrie, that really helps with your cognitive abilities, which I guess research shows that over time can decline for many people.
Without question, it's use it or lose it. And I really find that, but anytime we're engaged, it's healthy mentally, because, we're interacting with others. We are learning new things. And that's, I also had done a piece a while back for the New York Times about resilience. And when you learn new things, it builds resilience, because you're a beginner and then you become knowledgeable. And you're always doing that ebb and flow, which is what is so great about life. But it also gives us perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think every year, every step along the way gives you another sense of kind of where your place in the world is, where your contribution to society and the world can be. Carrie, this is also a good thing. This lifelong learning is also a really good thing for colleges and universities. They've been hit exceptionally hard by enrollment issues. People, kids maybe taking a year off because of the pandemic and not going to school or not continuing their education until the pandemic is completed. So this is really a kind of a potential windfall. And you don't have to go to the most expensive schools, right? You can go to a community college. You can go to a local school near you.
Oh, without question. And just in general, Jeff, moving forward, the population coming up behind the Gen X and the boomers is a smaller cohort. So universities and colleges across the country and even globally are trying to say, okay, how can we stay relevant? How can we stay economically sound? And they're realizing that we have this huge demographic of people who are thirsty for knowledge, who are looking for second careers and need to go back to school. So instead of being an education systems that ends when someone is 22 or 25, or if it's a master's degree, maybe 30, this is one that stretches out and it offers a real economic model for the education system, as well as a benefit to individuals.
Yeah, and they could tailor programs that are, what you said earlier, people are having maybe second and third careers where they only last a couple of years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and then you move into something else. I could see almost like a vocational school where you're learning different skills along the way every 2 or 3 years. Maybe you're earning a certification or some type of degree. The education system would be well served probably to kind of look at that as a future paradigm shift.
Oh, without question. I love that. And the other thing, Jeff, that would be so great, and it's starting to happen, I've been talking about it for years, but get the employers to pair up with the community colleges, to pair up with some of these educational institutions to say, hey, these are the skills we need from our workers, no matter what age they are. Can you offer that so that when you say, oh, I want to go back to school to get a certificate, well, in fact, there's going to be a job for you at the end of that road, because employers are saying, yes, we need you to learn this or get this certificate, what have you. But I just think we need to see more of that communication, and that will help everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. And I was going to hold this to the end of the show, but I mean, when I talk to you, I always get this energy that has me so positive, and I think the viewers do as well, because you have to be optimistic, and there are a lot of things that people can contribute to society. Hold some additional thoughts. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break, of course. When we come back, we'll talk to Carrie about how to offset some of those career setbacks that you may have had during COVID-19. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking to columnist and author Carrie Hannon. Carrie, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Great to be here, Jeff. I love it.
Yeah, like I said, going to the outro, lots of energy, love it, and people should be positive at all phases of life. We're going to face ups and downs throughout our lives, lots of challenges. One of those challenges, Carrie, career setbacks. For many people, 55 and older, maybe even a little bit younger. I know you did a lot. You wrote a piece on this, and you did a lot of research on it. What's your sense? How do we make things better for these folks?
Yeah, well, there are two things going on here, Jeff. Coming out of the pandemic, we have, people have had their careers derailed. There's no question about it. And particularly the cohort, over 45, sometimes this is a really hard time to get back into the job market if you've been laid off because of the pandemic or your business was shuttered or whatever it may be. And so this requires a lot of focus and energy and trying to figure out what's next for me. And the number one thing I tell people is don't try to replicate your old job. I mean, the chances are that's not going to happen because coming out of this, there's going to be new demands. Things have shifted. It is not going to be the same as it was pre-pandemic. And so this is true, has often been true before when you lost your job, that people scrambled to just be who they were before. You got to move forward and think of what you can add in order to be relevant today. So that's the number one thing.
Yeah, and to what we talked about in the first segment, it's about being a lifelong learner, adapting. It can be hard for people and scary. I mean, change is not easy. We've all gone through a tremendous amount of change. I feel like if I had hair, it'd be completely gray at this point. But it's not, because I don't even know what color it is at this point. But really, you've got to be this lifelong learner. You've got to grab this change and do the best you can and try to pick up some new skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about duck and cover, right? It's really about, okay, I have got to be creative. And I'm not saying you have to be an artist or a musician or, that sort of thing. Creativity, which I spoke to an author the other week, Mark Walton, who has a new book called Crucial Creativity. And the point that Mark made to me, which it resonated with me, is creativity is not a spark of inspiration. In reality, it's an action. You're creative when you take action, when you do something. So, the first thing I mentioned, don't replicate your job. Number 2, take action. Do something. Learn, study up on what's changed in your field, what jobs are out there. Reach out and make that phone call to talk to somebody, to network. As I love to say, networking is one letter away from not working.
That's true. And it's a vowel. Let's talk about what positioning yourself for what looks like to be a economic golden age or boom, maybe is the right word. I mean, this has happened after other declines, other types of events that have been significant around the world, where you've had depressed asset values and depressed stock markets, depressed job markets. It looks like things are really going to, and I'm not an economist by trade, but from everything that you read, you got to take economists with a grain of salt. But everything that we read, it looks like things are kind of heading in that direction. How do you set yourself up for being successful in that shift? That shift, I should say.
Exactly, Jeff. I am cautiously optimistic as well. And, but as you mentioned, I tend to be sort of the glass half full gal. So what I like to say is, set yourself up by, do that inner soul searching. It is important to be reflective. If you're looking in the job market to start a business or to move to a new job, to find a new job, or perhaps transition to a new career, start with you. Be reflective. What are your skills, your soft skills, your hard skills? What do you really want to do? It isn't always about what the employer wants. It's what do you want? What companies resonate with you? What's your mission? I love to say it's me Inc. So you're your own boss, no matter if you're looking for a new job. So try to figure out who you want to work for, who you want to hire as an employer.
And we've talked about this before, both in the previous segment and in other episodes of the show. Employers are looking for experienced professionals, people who can serve as mentors. Maybe you've picked up some new skills, but you've got all this administrative skills, meaning you've been an executive or you have management skills. New employers are looking for that. They want to bring in people within this cohort to mentor people.
Yeah, I'm seeing across the globe, age-friendly employers are suddenly getting attention. And there have been some that have always done this, but it's become more of a trend recently, and more companies are signing up. AARP has a list, and retirementjobs.com has another one of employers who have signed this pledge almost. And AARP, they actually sign a pledge saying, we are age-friendly, we don't look at age. This is important because employers do appreciate loyalty, the experience, the ballast in the workplace, as you mentioned, the mentoring, but they really rely on your expertise and your willingness to be part of the team. The key here, Jeff, though, is you have to realize it's culture. When they say no because of ageism, it's often because they have a younger workforce and they're thinking you won't fit in. So what you need to do is really demonstrate that you're nimble, that you love to learn new things, that you have the latest skills. These are ways to showcase that you really will fit in, and that working with younger people is something that energizes you.
And doesn't it takes, yes, you have to adapt, but doesn't it take maybe the mindset of the employer to say, okay, maybe our culture is oriented towards younger workers, but maybe we need to change some of that. We've talked over the last plus couple of years about cultural diversity within organizations, whether it's ethnicity, whether it's different, gender, et cetera. But also it's important to realize that your culture may need to shift because of age and maturity and different levels of skill set.
Yeah, and Jeff, study after study is showing that multi-generational workforces are more productive and the performance improves. And there's just so many benefits to this combination of generations working together with the different mindsets that they bring to a project or a job. And so again, like you said, it is a shift in a mindset. There's no reason why all these don't, everyone doesn't play nicely together, but this is something, it evolves. And unfortunately, it's slower than we all would hope, but I see it happening.
Yeah, creativity and good ideas come from all segments of the population. There's no shortage of that. Carrie Hannon, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. I'm going out, like I said, feeling very positive about the day, ready to take on my day. Wishing you the very best for the rest of the week, and look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Terrific. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our newsletter, The Morning Pulse, and of course our website. We're back again tomorrow, so until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.